This is the Modern Mastery Unleashed podcast.
Hello and welcome to Modern Self-Mastery Unleashed, the podcast. We are so excited to have you, Paul Davidson, everyone. Paul Davidson. And myself, Natalia.
It's been a long time coming, that's for sure.
Oh my gosh, it really has. What's it been like? A year, I think we were both thinking we would start a podcast, and then it kind of just all came together and we thought, you know what, we speak the same language. We have the same kind of messages. You're coming from a male perspective. I'm coming from a female perspective. And I think what we're going to do here is really help the collective rise together to unleash their highest potential. So exciting.
Oh, it's what we live and breathe, isn't it? And I say there's so much information out there, but as we know, it's information overload and implementation underload, which is the problem. So it can be totally overwhelming. And I think what you and I most certainly agree on is all roads lead to self, and everything starts and ends with you and me. So it's down to the actions that we take. Yeah. Ultimately, the inspired, aligned actions, all driven through vision and values. So you're in full alignment. So there's no internal conflict with what you're doing and the actions that you're taking. And that takes a personal journey to learn that. It's not something you can read in a book and spout, is it? You know, and certainly where you've been and where you are now, and certainly with myself, you know, it is a journey, isn't it? It's life mastery, and we're passionate about exploring human potential and raising the collective consciousness. And I think this is where the dynamic of yourself and myself together is really quite unique, actually. But it works perfectly well, you know, and I just can't wait to get the series underway and give people the teachings, tools and takeaways to actually change the way people think and the way they behave, so that they can action simple things to actually move the needle. You know, it's not about just listening, as it says on our page. It's about taking the actions, the inspired action, to actually move. And that's what's missing. We are certainly consumers, and we don't tend to blend the creation with the consumption, which is what we're here to do.
Exactly that. And I mean, for anyone who is listening already, we're so excited to have you with us. I mean, you're here because you're on a journey, just like we are. You're on a journey to unlocking your full potential and becoming literally the master of your own life. And this is not something that happens overnight. Paul and I talk about this a lot. Like, success is not, it certainly does look like it on social media. And, but you know, if for anyone who's been listening to me for a while, I always say, like, vision is the destination, strategy is the pathway there, and you're the key to making it happen. So we, like, Paul and I both have this deep belief that it does start with you. And we're going to look at so many different life areas. We've got a huge list of amazing experts that cannot wait to join us on this show. And I mean, we're going to be taking a deep dive into conversations. We want this to be really conversational, having just candid conversations with thought leaders, visionaries, experts. And if there are things that you want us to talk about, please do let us know. But we are on this mission to create this wellness revolution. And so we're so excited for you to be here, because the only way from here is forward and to the top, my friends.
That's right. That's right. I think it was Yaz, wasn't it, who sang, it might have been in the 80s, the only way is up. But I'm showing my age now, 35. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, that's our obsession, is the untapped potential. And I believe I'm on the earth to rouse the stagnant. And so it doesn't matter what level you're at, it's okay to want more. Um, and the whole wellness piece is the abundance in all areas. It's not just one. And I think the deconstruction of the ego is firmly in place, where the construct of money is not the only metric of success, and I think I concur with Gary Vee that we need to change that metric to success is getting up and feeling happy in the morning, and just being just happy and fulfilled in areas of your life, not just one, but a multitude. We want it all. We want growth, contribution. We want to leave that old story behind, that separates us from who we truly are. I think we're born into perfection and conditioned to mediocre. And I guess I'm just the guy who refuses to settle. I just cannot. I don't believe we're born into this life merely to survive it. So it's about living and not existing. The sort of slow asphyxiation into the mundane, is what we firmly stand against. It's not what life's about. So pleased to have you with us, and just can't wait to take you on an incredible ride, and just see where we can take everybody, as well as ourselves. It's so exciting for us.
Yeah. And as you were talking about success and how it's defined, and, I think our first challenge to our listeners is, what is your definition of success? How do you see your ideal day? What does that look like? And I know you and I have had this conversation because we both use it in our coaching practices, that ideal day exercise, where it's like, if you had the perfect day from when you got up to when you went to bed, what does that look like? Who's with you? Where do you live? What, how do you feel? And spoiler alert, we might get into a little bit more of that next week, so please tune in. But but yeah, it's just that understanding that success can only be defined by you. It doesn't even matter what it says in the dictionary. It's your path to lead. And when you get clear on what success means to you, it's almost like you start to understand even deeper the why behind it all, which, is a very common question for, I know, a lot of business coaches, like, wherever you're at, it's like, what's your why? Why are you here? Like, why do what you do? And, there's lots of surface level stuff that we could say, like, well, I'm here because I want to take care of my family. Like, that's why I do what I do. Okay, well, why is that important? And I know we're kind of digging into, what was that exercise we did with Tony Robbins and Dee Graziosi? It was the 7 layers deep, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that is a super powerful exercise. But I think the first challenge for the podcast is, what's your definition of success? Like, tell us in the comments, whether you're listening on Spotify, whether you're listening on live on Facebook, or any of the other channels that we're on. It's going to be really exciting to see what your answers are.
And there's a really interesting take on that, which I absolutely love, of what success is. That sounds like it's quite a dangerous intro, but it's absolutely fantastic, and it's lovely, because I heard this And I think it was from my mentor that never knew it, Jim Rohn, and he was talking about success and what success means. And it's the continual unfolding of your own personal life that you have designed and pulling it off. So
Wow.
it's the continual unfolding of your own life that you, by your own design, and pulling it off, and that's what success is, and that is whatever that looks like to you. So if you want to cash it all in and live in the woods and feed the animals, well, that's success to you, and I think that's what it is, and I think it's comes down to living life by design and not by default. And that's what we feel quite strongly about conditioning. And also, you've got to ask ourselves, we must all ask ourselves what we think we're going for and where we pick that up from. So our own goals and vision, like, well, where did that come from? Where did that one come from? Where did I hear that from? And I think once you go through that list of the things you think you're going after, you get a handful of things that you feel quite strongly about. And you've got to find the white moment, the fuel, because, of course, you will be tested to see how much you really want it. You know, there you will be met with resistance, and that's okay. That's okay. But I think if you know it's on the way, the moment you decide, there's going to be resistance there, and that's okay. And this is about unleashing potential that is held up within us, you know. And this is the thing, you know, every level there's a new devil.
I love that.
So it's so true, isn't it? Because it doesn't matter where you go and what you achieve, you know, it's whatever that looks like, there's always a new challenge and there's growth involved, you know, and it's not that we're this constant feeling of the never enoughness. And I think sometimes like serial achievers feel this never enoughness, which is quite painful, you know. And I think obviously it's a state of mind, isn't it? It's a state of mind and feeling that you absolutely are enough. But where you want to go is probably going to demand the next best version of you, and you might need to pick up some skills and leave some stuff behind. So I think as much as personal development, peak performance, and all of these practices are about learning new things, I think it's as much as unlearning, because you've got to create that space, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. And, you know, since you're talking about, you know, your state of being, like, let's really just talk about what wellness is. And that is like, wellness is your well-being. It is your state of being. And it's not something that you can do passively. It is an active process of making decisions, making choices that lead you to that happier, healthier, more fulfilling life. And I think that's why we're really excited to bring you this wellness revolution, because elevating everyone's state, elevating everyone's frequency, so that we are operating as our optimal selves in any which way, shape, or form. The tough times, they feel a lot better than if you weren't in an optimal state. And I'm not saying, like, you will face tough times, that like life will just unfold, and you will realize what you have no control over, and you realize what you have control over, which is your thoughts, your actions, your behaviors. And some of it we have to unlearn and relearn and reframe and do all sorts of things. And that's why we're really excited for the guests that we have, but also, you know, just the value that we want to add to your lives as this podcast develops and as we grow. So we're just really grateful you guys are here with us. And do you want to say anything else for our first episode?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, certainly what I'm here to bring is philosophy along with methodology. I think with the methodology without the right philosophy is just a dead end road, because You can read all the books, you can listen to all the podcasts, you can take all the courses, but unless you have the right philosophy that you're scaling the right mountain, whatever that is to you, it's a falsehood. And I think most people are constantly looking for the next thing that's going to spark the next sort of progression for them, but they don't really know why they're doing it, or alignment with their values. They don't know what that is. So it's quite difficult to make daily incremental progress on the fundamentals. As I say, mastery of the fundamentals in the unseen hours, that's where greatness is born. It's what you practice in private, you're rewarded for in public. So, it's those things. But when you know those things, when you know your values and your vision, you're in full alignment. Like you say, you're making inspired actions that's in full alignment with it. So your rules for life. And we're so caught up with the to-do lists, aren't we? But I think we really do need a to-feel list.
I was going to say, like, a to-be list or a to-feel list, something like that, because, and I guess that kind of falls in line with your affirmations and what you believe of yourself and the language that you use. We're dropping so many golden nuggets. We have to save some for the rest of it. But yeah, it's like, you talked about the forever learner. I think all of our listeners are exactly that. They're constantly wanting to improve and elevate themselves and strive to be their best, which is why they found why you guys are here. And it's just about remembering that your potential is absolutely limitless. And I think where I like to add value is that the wellness 360 perspective, where you're looking at your life holistically. You're not just looking at your business. You're not just looking at your health. You're looking at the whole picture, and because everything is so interconnected. And I talk a lot about the different layers, like the external layer, the internal layer, the energetic layer, which I'll bring in as we kind of explore the different topics. But I am super, super excited about what we're going to create here, and I'm super, super excited for you guys, the listeners, to really just grasp what we're saying. Join us for the challenges, join us for those deep conversations, and that journey towards transformation. It's going to be amazing.
Definitely. We're so excited about it, and just so excited to serve other people. I think there's a lot of suffering in the world right now, and you guys are in the right place. And so please subscribe and invite other people who could benefit to these conversations, because for me, what I love is taking a complex subject and making it super simple so you can actually action it. It's a simplification of the whole thing so we can actually get it done. Because we have a way of overcomplicating things so that you can't, but complexity is the enemy of execution. It just is. So we want to get to that point where we can just take simple actions on the things that really matter. And as we say, that's as much as unlearning as anything else, with deep held beliefs and our identity of what we think things should be, and that busy is some kind of badge of honor.
Gosh, I've definitely been there.
I think
in my wealth management days, goodness me.
I think it's conditioning again, isn't it? You know what I mean? But I believe in working relentlessly and furiously, and then having the right amount of rest and recuperation for perspective and balance, because as much of a counterbalance as possible. I mean, exact balance is difficult to achieve because you can't quite excel in anything, but counterbalance certainly exists, and you need that thing. It's exactly the same as me doing natural bodybuilding. If work ethic was all it took, I've been there and driven myself into the ground and not rested enough. And I've learned a harsh lesson there, because I think I always have to be going and doing, and but you need rest. You've got to have the right amount of rest again, so you can go, because it takes energy. You've got to be performing at your absolute best. Takes energy, and we all know we're in a high energy state, everything's much easier. But when you feel absolutely knackered and wiped out, burnt out and frustrated, everything's 10 times harder. So again, it's simple, basic fundamentals and getting those right. But as you can tell, we're quite passionate about moving this forward and moving everybody forward with us as a collective. I certainly don't come from a place of mastery. I'm certainly on the path, as are you. And I think that's why we're all here. We all want to progress. We all want to move forward. And we all want to grow and contribute and lead others. Heart-led leadership is the way forward for sure. And can't wait to take people on the next step.
That's awesome. And to bring that Wellness 360 perspective in just before we wrap it up for today, the energetic layer of your career life element is action and impact. The external layer is the work that you do. The internal layer is the work-life balance. And we're not here to debate if work-life balance actually exists. That maybe for another show. And then the rest element, externally it's sleep, but internally it's self-care. And then energetically it's receiving and restoring. So, there's also lots of stuff that we want to dive deeper when we talk about rest, because rest, a lot of people just think it's I need to sleep more, and it's no, that's just one aspect of
it. Totally.
So we're so excited you're here. Expect strategies, expect action, actionable strategies. I know whenever we can, we'll try to give you some extra content that will be available. But we are just pumped you're here. And like Paul said, subscribe and share. And we'll be back next week talking about vision. Yeah.
Best place to start, right?
Exactly. So, thanks guys for tuning in.
See you next time.